get started. I will call the November 2020 meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency to order. Remind everyone that pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order 929-20, members of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency staff participate in this meeting via teleconference to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Members of the public have been asked to watch the meeting live stream and submit comments in writing by 8 a.m. of November 19th this morning. So with that, we'll start. And our first item on the agenda is, we don't have the approval of the agenda, do we, on here, or is that something we don't do? But let's just start with 1A, presentation by the public on matters not on the agenda. Jen, do we have any comments that were posted? Okay, thank you. Item 1B is the report out on closed session. Council?
The board met in closed session on the two items referenced in the closed session agenda and took no reportable action.
Thank you. Item 1C, monthly and year-to-date revenue and expense report.
Okay, good morning, members of the board. I'll be reporting out on the revenue and expenses for the month of September 2020. In Fund 870, the beginning balance was approximately $3.1 million. There was no revenue and expenditures totaled about $160,000, making the ending cash position to be $2.94 million. In Fund 871, the fund balance is negative $3.6 million. Okay, and sorry about that. Revenue was approximately $7,000 and expenditures totaled $3.08 million, making the ending cash position for Fund 871 to be negative $4.57 million. Looking at the year-to-date position, the combined cash position among Funds 870, 871, and 257 was $2.49 million. As of November 10th, 2020, the agency's cash position was approximately $1.81 million. But the agency did receive an advance from state a few weeks ago in the amount of $3.365 million, and that will be deposited into Fund 257, making the overall cash position to be $5.17 million. Our finance department did close out the books for the prior fiscal year, so we're moving forward starting July 1st, 2020. And with that, I conclude my report. Please let me know if you had any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Chris or Babs? Okay. I think we talked about December having a more complete recap of the prior year, so looking forward to that. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda. We have one controversial item on the consent agenda, the approval of our October 15th minutes. Hope you've all had a chance to look through them, and if there's no questions or changes, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move consent.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Oh, Jen, could you please take the roll, please? You're still on. There you are.
Okay, sorry about that. Ramos?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sandine?
Aye.
Director Ledesma?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our regular agenda items. Our first one, item 3A, proclamation honoring Council Member Sandine. I have a prepared proclamation I'd like to read concerning Babs. So please bear with me. And on cue, the leaf blower is outside my window, so hopefully he'll move on. So here we, Thursday morning. So here we go. This is a proclamation of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency honoring Beverly Sandine for her years of service with the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. And it begins with a whereas. Beverly Babs Sandine will retire after 6 years of dedicated service on the West Sacramento City Council and 4 years of service on the Board of Directors of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency as Vice Chair. And whereas the safety and prosperity of the city and the community of West Sacramento depends on protection from the risk of catastrophic flooding. And whereas such flood protection is afforded to the community by its levee systems, including the repair of these systems to meet the current levee standards. And whereas the United States Congress authorized the West Sacramento Project in the Water Resources Development Act of 2016, providing the basis for federal participation in the improvement of West Sacramento's levee system. Whereas under Babs' leadership, WSAFCA completed construction of the agency's largest project and first increment of the West Sacramento project, the setback levee, the Southport Setback Levee Project. And whereas the Southport Setback Levee Project has received numerous awards, including Outstanding Flood Management Protection from the American Society of Civil Engineers, Engineering Excellence Awards for the American Council of Engineering Companies, and the unique distinction as the first flood project in the nation to receive a Platinum Award, the highest recognizable achievement from the Institute of Sustainable Infrastructure. And whereas WSAFCA guided the agency to enter into the design agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Central Valley Flood Protection Board to begin the Civil Works Program federal implementation phase of the West Sacramento project. And whereas Babs provided key guidance that enabled the agency to take the lead in designing the next increment of levee improvements of the West Sacramento project on behalf of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And whereas because of the previous actions and significant flood control work performed by the agency under Babs' leadership, the agency is poised to receive significant federal funding to construct the remainder of the West Sacramento project. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency does hereby honor Beverly Babs Sandine on a well-deserved retirement from the agency after years of distinguished and dedicated public service. Proclaimed this 19th day of November 2020. Well written. Thank you, whoever. But Babs, I watched a little bit of your guys' meeting last night, so I can't be as eloquent as some of your council mates there, but I remember when Bill retired and we needed to recruit someone from the city council. I think it was kind of unanimous amongst us involved in WSAFCA that we thought you would be a perfect fit for WSAFCA from your desire to look after the flood programs and stuff, and to bring you on was, I think, was a good move. And you were very active and progressive in what you brought to us, both here and back in our trips to Washington. And it's been a good fit. So we hope who comes on next can fill some of your footsteps, your shoes, excuse me. So with that, Chris, if you have anything to say.
I'm kind of all dried out from the tears from last night doing the speeches, so I'm a wreck. But and I noted in my discussion or my remarks last night, just the work Babs has done on this board with everybody on this in the boxes on the screen that has been working with her, and she has represented the city well in on this board, and in managing our flood protection. It's hard to say. I know the mayor mentioned it last night. Sort of the tall task we have as electeds, to serve your community, try to do what's right for the community. Sometimes the community doesn't agree with it or opposes it. But we know in our heart the things we have to do on this board are the right things to do, to make sure the flood protection is here, to make sure the construction happens on time, to protect the assets and the resources of the city and the agency. And Babs has filled that admirably with a sense of duty, with a sense of honor, and stewardship of kind of where we're going. And I can be prouder to call her a friend, and she was a friend before all this, and she'll remain even more in my heart, because we know, and Tom a little bit, because I know you're on the board here, but you know the trials and tribulations of being on a council where you have to make these decisions. And as I said last night, Babs, just all the best. Thank you for your service. Thank you to Marty again for letting us borrow you for 6 years. And then before that, your work on the Planning Commission, which should be noted. So a long, distinguished career serving our city. And I know she'll find other ways to do it without being elected or a board member. But thank you for all the work. I mean, our city is safer today. And our city is better situated for more improvements going forward, and a lot of it is due to you and the work you've helped this team do to further our flood control interests. So thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. I certainly can't take credit for the long list on that fine proclamation, but I know that this group knows that flood protection has been a top priority for me as a council member, and the entire council. Indeed, it's been our always on the top list of our strategic plan. So it's been a real honor to serve on this JPA with you. And I have to say that the work of our talented, dedicated, and incredibly creative staff here to move these projects, these enormous projects forward, I've been so impressed as I've gotten to know the intimate details of this important work. So I want to thank the staff team for all the work, and our partners who step up beside us and with us to get this work done. I have great memories of the work on this board, advocating in DC with Mr. Ramos, and with Mr. Faven, and the work that, speaking to the school children here in West Sacramento about flood preparedness, it was fun, but also necessary. And for them to take messages home about this is critical. To look at the Southport project work, to look at the habitat restoration, Mr. Dirksen, that is incredible. The huge levee improvement project, and then what's ahead of us. I mean, I feel this sense of accomplishment, and it's been great to be part of this work. So thank you for allowing me this time to serve with you. And this is such critical work. Anyway, thank you for the kindness. No more, Mr. Ledesma, you're done, I think, with all the having this, but I really appreciate the opportunity.
And Mr. Chair, if I might, a couple remarks.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Babs, I just would like to extend a personal thank you from myself and our team. You've continued from the very beginning to be so supportive of staff, which is certainly, it's greatly appreciated, makes our job that much easier to know that the work that we're doing receives your full support, and in some respects, your cheerleading, pushing us forward. And it certainly has been my pleasure and the honor of working with you back in DC and attending some meetings together to help push our program forward. So on behalf of my staff, and I hope I'm not taking too many liberties, with putting words in their mouth, but we just want to thank you for your support and thank you for your service. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Okay, very, very good.
Hey, Tom, Mr. Chair, did we need a vote on the proclamation? I just want to.
Maybe it's a regal proclamation, Chair.
I suppose it wouldn't hurt whether we need one or not.
Maybe are we going to get a 2-to-1 vote finally, or I don't know.
Because I said it last night. If I vote no, maybe she stays.
I'll put forward the to approve the proclamation honoring Beverly Sandine.
I'll second.
Jen, clerk, would you call the roll?
Chair vote.
Aye.
Georgia Ledesma.
Aye.
It passes with a 2-to-1 motion.
Okay, by the skin of our teeth. With that, we'll move on to project updates.
All right. Thank you, Chair Ramos and members of the board. I hope I turned on my speaker. Yes, I did. Okay. Where am I? So as Jen mentioned, as you saw in the program updates, our cash position's looking a little peaked, but we actually have received the electronic funds transfer from the state, and finance just needs to book it into Fund 257, and it'll show up. So our actual cash position is just over $5 million, as Jen had mentioned. And then some of the work that still is closing up, the lingering work on Southport. Got the time oil remediation site. Paul had arranged for the wells to be abandoned. I believe that was last week. And we do anticipate closing the site in the next month, be able to put that one behind us. End of the chapter on that. On the Barrel Restoration Project, as noted in the report, notice of substantial completion was issued to the contractor in September. Currently working with Brian Brown, our staff, and Ralph to record the project as complete. Also release final retention or final payment of retention to the contractor and close that project out. Something new that's in the report for the first time. I don't know if you caught it, but there was a subsection called compliance letters. And Brian Brown has working with HDR. We're looking to get compliance letters from the designer for all of the early implementation projects that we've constructed, Southport, Rivers, and CHP. Although they're not in an official capacity per se, they will be able to assist the agency when it comes time to certify the complete levee system. And also they're available in case any agencies inquire about the status of meeting flood protection mandates. And these really are looking to confirm that the project was designed in accordance with ULDC guidelines. So those will be forthcoming. On the restoration projects side of things, staff has requested and received 2 consecutive time variance requests that allow us and our contractor River Partners to continue to do maintenance activities in the floodway out in the restoration areas, primarily weeding and irrigation through the end of the month. And then once we've had some rain, but it looks like we're not going to get anything for another week or so. But once we get another significant rain event, and perhaps this rain event was significant enough, Paul can chime in. If so, then they're going to do drill seeding and broadcast grass seeding in the mitigation areas And then they'll also remove some of the protected milk cartons that they've had out there so they don't go floating downstream when the river level rises. And they'll also remove the irrigation laterals and stuff and get it ready for the winter. On to the federal project where most of our effort has been focused. Our design team with MGE has essentially completed the 95% design package. It is internal to them doing their technical review. We are anticipating receiving on or about December 4th the package for WSAFCA staff review and comment, as well as it'll also be sent to the Corps for review and comment. Mark's been leading the environmental effort. I think, we're looking at a mitigated negative declaration for environmental compliance under CEQA and a finding of no significant impact under NEPA, which will probably occur after the first of the year. We are also working with the state and the Corps to develop some additional scopes of work to start some of the preliminary engineering and design work on our next increment, which is Sacramento River North. That's the segment between essentially the Tower Bridge up to the SAC bypass. Regardless of what happens on the federal funding front, which I'll talk about in a minute, we want to get some boots on the ground doing geotechnical investigations, some engineering survey work, some advanced environmental work, and also some bathymetry and other work along the river stem for looking for erosion and other areas of deficiency, so that we can have this information to turn over to the Corps that will allow them to hit the ground running with the next design package. We do anticipate, as those scopes of work are reviewed by our state partner, as well as the Corps, we'll be putting those out to our list of on-call professional services folks to propose, and then we would anticipate likely in January, maybe as early as December, but more likely January, bringing some contracts for board's consideration. Again, this would be WSAFCA and the state leading that effort. And all of this work should qualify as eligible work in kind. That's one of the reasons why we're having the Corps review and approve of these scopes, because we will be doing the work on their behalf. All right. I think I've reported before that the Corps is doing an economic update on the overall federal project. The agency technical review by Walla Walla is complete, so the cost has been certified. The cost has gone up slightly based on cost of construction, and now it's back at the district to do the economic portion of it, which ultimately would result in a new BCR. We've done the calculations internal based on our little sort of black box we've been given indications from the Corps that it's pretty accurate. And that results based on our calculations in a BCR of 2.5. And so we're anxiously awaiting the Corps for the Corps to complete that, because that will be a nice feather in our cap in terms of a message or our messaging that we can share with the folks back in DC as we start to head into the appropriations process, and then following on from that, the Corps work plan process. So that leads me to the federal budget and advocacy portion. I think, as everybody's aware, the Senate bill was released earlier this week. Like the House version, it contains the balance of PED for the Corps that was recommended in the president's budget, a little over $2 million. And one of the other notable items in the Senate version of the bill is that it's recommending a total of 7 new construction starts, 2 required in the flood mission, as compared to the House version of the bill had, I think, 5 new starts and only 1 in the flood mission area. Each version of the bill does contain 1 additional new start that it's kind of up to the Corps on how they prioritize it. It can go across any of the 3 mission areas. But of significant note was this paragraph that I included in your progress report about from the Senate Appropriations Committee, included where they essentially are recommending that the Corps prioritize the West Sacramento project to receive some of the additional funds that they're recommending, which translates to the work plan, and which, in my opinion, translates to construction funding and a new start. So this was a really quite a surprise. I have shared this up and down with Corps staff and have received confirmation from division anyways that the West Sacramento project continues to be their top priority and the only project that they're recommending for a new start in 2021. So all really good news, hoping things really line up as we continue our messaging that we do get one of those new starts in the work plan come the turn of the year into 2021.
And you're not going to read the paragraph you read to us?
Say that again, Chris.
I can read
I can if you'd like. How about I do that?
You could read that as many times as you want. I told you to put it on a T-shirt, walk around.
Yeah. Well, let me do that then. The committee understands the West Sacramento project would significantly reduce annual flood damages in West Sacramento by 85% by addressing issues related to seepage stability and erosion control for levees along the Sacramento River Yola bypass and Sacramento River Deepwater Ship Channel. The committee reminds the Corps that this project is eligible to compete for the additional funds recommended in this account and encourages the Corps to prioritize advancing the corrections identified in the general evaluation report. As I mentioned previously, about as close to an earmark as you can get. So certainly we're very appreciative and encouraged by the language in the appropriations bill.
I was very impressed at the detailed knowledge that some of those staffers have of our project. So I wonder maybe if there was a little birdie there that kind of helped them out a little bit. But it's we very nice.
Between Holland and Knight and Mike Strawn, we do get that message out, and it's really nice that folks are paying attention.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. In terms of timing, the current continuing resolution runs out December 11. But now that all of the appropriations bills have been released by both sides, the word on the street in DC is that there's a significant bipartisan push now to get some or all of these bills completed before the end of the continuing resolution, either in an omnibus fashion or a couple of minibus bills. So we will be looking at encouraging the folks certainly on the energy and water front to wrap those bills up. We'll be pushing for maximum dollars and maximum new starts, and that'll be our messaging so that we have what we need from the Corps work plan. Regardless of when the appropriations bill is approved, we'll immediately shift into messaging the Corps and ASA, OMB about the project's needs, expectations, and requests for 2021 work plan dollars. So, what's really unique this go round is, and this is something that we've made a point to bring up to everybody we meet with, and that is the request this year for the West Sacramento project is unique in that we're looking for the balance of PED, which we will get in the normal appropriations bill, but also in the same fiscal year, we're looking at New Start construction funding and the New Start designation. Normally, those things happen in consecutive federal fiscal budgets. And so we want to make sure that that is brought, it's right out there on the table for folks to look at, and they don't they don't misinterpret what they're seeing and just move along with, business as usual. And then I think there's one other. Oh yeah, and then the last piece that we've talked about, or that I've mentioned, related to the work plan request. The Corps had been messaging they're looking for roughly $19 million as the construction funding to accompany the New Start to construct the Yolo Bypass project. But because of all of the work that we've done, and the Corps is going to be poised to move on for design, they've upped the ante now on their work plan request for West Sac, and it's approaching $40 million, roughly, or 30 to 40 million, roughly 20 to 25 for construction. We will not need that much. And then roughly $10 million for design of the next increment. If all of that goes through, the Corps will be well positioned financially to do significant amount of work on design of our next increment, in addition to constructing the Yolo Bypass piece next year. So I'll be working over the coming weeks to get as close to the exact numbers as I can so that our messaging can be in alignment with folks that we speak to back in DC.
Hey, Greg, sorry to interrupt. I mentioned yesterday I need to cut out for a call, but I just want to thank you for the update. And if there's anything more that you have, I'm happy to take a call later today if you have any more additional updates to the written report. But thanks for all your work.
The timing was good. I'm done.
Okay. Tom, thanks. Tabs, thank you.
All right, bye, Chris.
Bye.
Bye, Chris.
All right. Anyways, questions on anything that we've gone over or anything that I have not talked about that you may have questions about?
No, it's going to be, it's like deja vu all over again. We're going to get it all teed up, and we're going to have our fingers crossed. And hopefully the start of 2021 will be positive in a lot of different ways. So we'll see.
You're here.
So anything else, Greg?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Babs, any other comments? I have a question for you. Is this your last meeting, or do you got with us? I know, but do you have anything else you got to council still go, or when does that formally end?
I serve up until the new council is sworn in on December 9th. So I have a set of other meetings that I serve on, other commissions and boards. So I'm around, and I'm living in West Sac, and I'm very interested in the flood protection work is all around me. So I will keep tabs on the work of WSAFCA and this flood team.
Well, don't be surprised if you're invited as a special guest when we do those school things, if we're ever allowed to do them again. It'd be great to see you there.
Thank you.
And or ribbon cutting, and or dedications.
Yeah.
You bet.
Whatever I can do to help move this work along. And thank you, Greg, the update. I know you're giving us a high level summary, but of course there's so much work that's going on behind the scenes to push our project forward and to get the attention it needs. So thank you for continuing to do that work.
Okay. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, such as it will be, and we'll meet again in December. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Meeting's adjourned.